نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Let's continue from ayat number 9 of Surah Al-Qamar. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح فكذبوا عبدنا وقالوا مجنون وازدجر. The people of Nuh denied before them, and they denied our servant and said, a madman, and he was repelled. So the word wazdujir means zujir an tabligh risalatihi bis-sabbi wa ghayrihi. So Nuh alayhi salam was rebuked, he was threatened and warned by his people, as it also comes in Surah Shu'ara, ayat number 115. قالوا لئن لم تنتهي يا نوح لتكونن من المرجومين. They said, if you do not desist, O Nuh, you will surely be of those who are stoned. فدعا ربه أني مغلوب فانتصر. So he invoked his Lord, indeed I'm overpowered, so help. ففتحنا أبواب السماء بماء منهمر. Then we opened the gates of the heaven with rain pouring down. وفجرنا الأرض عيونا فالتقى الماء على أمر قد قدر. And caused the earth to burst with springs, and waters converged to fulfill what had been predestined. So the word munhamir means pouring intensely and abundantly. So in the case of Nuh alayhi salam, his nation denied him even after more than 950 years of calling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then when the punishment came, it came in the form of floods. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing how that great flood happened. So it just did not happen simply because of, severe rain, but it was also that water was gushing from the earth from springs. وَحَمَلْنَاهُ عَلَى ذَاتِ أَلْوَاحٍ وَدُسُرٍ. And we carried him on a construction of planks and nails. So alwah is plural of lawh, which means a board or a plank, and dosur is a plural of this, means nail. So this was the ship that Nuh alayhi salam made with the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it was made of planks and something that would tie them together like a nail. تجري بأعيننا جزاء لمن كان كفر. Sailing under our observation as reward for he who had been denied. So تجري بأعيننا mean بحفظنا أو بأمرنا. This ship was sailing under the special protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and under his order. وَلَقَدْ تَرَكْنَاهَا آيَةً فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And we left it as a sign, so is there anyone who will remember? تَرَكْنَاهَا آيَةً مِنْ أَبْقَيْنَا ذِكْرَهَا عِبْرَةً وَعِظَةً. So we left their remembrance as a sign and a lesson. So today, when you look at ships sailing around so easily, it's a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that should remind us of Nuh alayhi salam. When Nuh alayhi salam was building this ship, they were even ridiculing because it was an area of mountains and desert. It wasn't an area that they saw a body of water. So when he was making the ship, they were taunting him. And today, when we know what happened to the people of Nuh alayhi salam and how they were all drowned, but Nuh alayhi salam was protected and he was taken safely away from that flood, and along with all the believers that he had, which were little in number, some say about 80 in count, and of course pairs of animals. So that's a lesson for us, that's a reminder for us when we look at ships today. It also comes in Surah Haqqa, ayat 11 and 12. إِنَّا لَمَّا طَغَى الْمَاءُ حَمَلْنَاكُمْ فِي الْجَارِيَةِ لِنَجْعَلَهَا لَكُمْ تَذْكِرَةً وَتَعِيَهَا أُذُنٌ وَاعِيَةٌ. Verily, when the water rose beyond its limit, we carried you in the ship, that we might make it for you a reminder, and that a conscious ear would be conscious of it. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عَذَابِي وَنُذُرْ. And how severe were my punishment and warning. After mentioning the details of punishment to people of Nuh alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us how terrible was my torment that I inflicted upon those who disbelieved in me and denied my messengers, and to those who did not take heed of my warning. And this would be repeated. And so after Nuh alayhi salam, we'll learn about Ad, and then Thamud, and then Lut alayhi salam and his people, and also Fir'aun. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala briefly described their situation and then how he punished them. And the people coming after did not take heed of the previous nations. And same thing is true for us today. I mean, we have all these stories of previous nations and how they were destroyed, and yet many of us, do not take heed of them. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And we certainly have made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there anyone who will remember? So لِلذِّكْر, for dhikr, for remembrance, could refer to many things. It could mean to memorize or to take heed or an admonition. So muddakir means mutta'izun biha, take heed or admonish. Previous scriptures like Torah, Injil, and Zabur were not conducive to memorization by their followers. But it is really one of the privileges conferred to Muslims that He has made it easy, even for young children, to preserve it in their heart. Another meaning of this verse can be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made Quran so simple that just as an intellectual and knowledgeable person benefits from its deep content, so can a layman appreciate its messages and warnings. As it comes in Surah Sad, ayat number 29, كِتَابٌ أَنزَلْنَاهُ إِلَيْكَ مُبَارَكٌ لِيَدَّبَّرُوا آيَاتِهِ وَيَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. This is a blessed book which we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they might reflect upon its verses and that those of understanding would be reminded. Let's quickly review ayats 9 to 17. So we learn about the floods of Nuh alayhi salam included pouring rain from the sky as well as bursting springs from the ground. Ships are a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's favor upon Nuh alayhi salam, and of course a reminder for the rest of us. It's truly a favor even for us. It allows us to travel from one place to another without being blocked by a body of water. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the Quran easy for understanding and memorization. كَذَّبَتْ عَادٌ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عَذَابِي وَنُذُرُ. Ad denied, and how severe were my punishment and warning. So who are the people of Ad? Ad was the name of nation of Hud alayhi salam, and they were famous for their power and strength. In their arrogance, they used to claim that no one will be able to punish them, and they denied the hereafter. They used to live in a hill area between Yemen and Oman, and they had the skill to construct tall buildings and towers. The interesting part is they were not ignorant of the existence of Allah, nor did they refuse to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they refused to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, and they added worship of their idols and other gods. So they were doing shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As it comes in Surah Fussilat, ayat number 15, فَأَمَّا عَادٌ فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ وَقَالُوا مَنْ أَشَدُّ مِنَّا قُوَّةً أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ اللَّهَ الَّذِي خَلَقَهُمْ وَأَشَدُّ مِنْهُمْ قُوَّةً وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يَجْحَدُونَ. As for Ad, they were arrogant upon the earth without right, and said, who is greater than us in strength? Did they not consider that Allah, who created them, was greater than them in strength? But they were rejecting our signs. One of the key issues in not accepting Hud alayhi salam as Allah's messenger was that they said he was just like any other human being among them. So after many years of continued reminders from Hud alayhi salam and their persistent disbelief, the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came. A drought is spread throughout the land, no rain occurred, and sun scorched any plantation around them. And when they got really concerned. Initially they were thinking this is temporary, but then it stretched for many days. And then a day came when they found the sky full of clouds. So they became very joyous. Ad at that time became very joyous. They felt like finally the drought is about to finish and rain will come down soon. But the weather changed suddenly from burning dry hot to stinging cold with wind that shook everything. The wind increased day after day and night after night. It ripped through their tents, penetrated their clothes, and destroyed anything it came in contact with. The punishment was so severe that it lasted 8 days and 7 nights. According to some narration, it started on a Wednesday morning and lasted the following Wednesday evening. إنا أرسلنا عليهم ريحا صرصرا في يوم نحس مستمر. Indeed, we sent upon them a screaming wind on a day of continuous misfortune. So sarsaran means bitterly cold and furious winds. Nahsin means misfortune or bad luck. And mustamir means continuous. تنزع الناس كأنهم أعجاز النخل منقعر, extracting the people as if they were trunks of palm trees uprooted. So munqa'ir means munqali'un min maghrasihi, plucked from their roots. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving a visual of how strong the wind was. It would lift a person off the ground with a violent force and then smash them back on the ground. In today's age, you can think about the brutal force of tornadoes, on how they blow things high up away up from the ground, and then finally it falls back onto earth. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عَذَابِي وَالنُّذُرُ, and how severe were my punishment and warning. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ, and we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there anyone who would remember? كذبت ثمود بالنذر, Thamud denied the warning. فقالوا أبشرا منا واحدا نتبعه إنا إذا لفي ضلال وسعر, and said, is it one human being among us that we should follow? Indeed, we should then be in error and madness. So the word su'ar means insanity. And let's go through brief summary of the story of Thamud. Thamud was a nation of Salih alayhi salam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a pregnant she-camel to them as a miracle. And it is a miracle that they asked for. And what happened was this camel, she-camel, used to drink water one day, and they were supposed to not disturb her, and then next day they can bring their herd of sheep and cattle to drink water. But they got tired of this arrangement to the point where one day they decided to kill that she-camel. And when that happened, it led to the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they were given a severe punishment. And what was the punishment given to the people of Salih alayhi salam, meaning Thamud? He warned them as soon as they killed the camel that there will be, wait for 3 days and you will get a punishment. So 3 days later, thunderbolts filled the air, followed by severe earthquakes, which destroyed the entire tribe and its homeland. The land was violently shaken, destroying all living creatures in it, and there was a horrific cry which led to the death of all disbelievers of Thamud. أو ألقي الذكر عليه من بيننا بل هو كذاب أشر. Has a message been sent down upon him from us? Rather, he is an insolent liar. So they're saying this about Salih alayhi salam, that he is a liar. سيعلمون غدا من الكذاب الأشر. They will know tomorrow who is the insolent liar. إنا مرسل الناقة فتنة لهم فارتقبهم فاصطبر. Indeed, we are sending the she-camel as trial for them, so watch them and be patient. وَنَبِّهُمْ أَنَّ الْمَاءَ قِسْمَةٌ بَيْنَهُمْ كُلُّ شِرْبٍ مُحْتَضَرٍ. And inform them that the water is shared between them, each day of drink attended by turn. فَنَادَوْا صَاحِبَهُمْ فَتَعَاطَى فَعَقَرَ. But they called their companion, and he dared and hamstrung her. So there was a person named by Qudar bin Salif, and he's the one who actually killed that she-camel. فَكَيْفَ كَانَ عَذَابِي وَنُذُرْ. And how severe were my punishment and warning. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً فَكَانُوا كَهَشِيمِ الْمُحْتَظِرِ. Indeed, we sent upon them one blast from the sky, and they became like dry twig fragments. So Hashim is like dry grass when it becomes burnt, and wind scatters it around. And Muhtazir is the one who builds a fence around camels and cattle. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a cry, and they became like dry grass floating around in the air. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance. So is there anyone who will remember? كَذَّبَتْ قَوْمُ لُوطٍ بِالنُّذُرِ. The people of Lut denied the warning. إِنَّا أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ حَاصِبًا إِلَّا آلَ لُوطٍ نَجَّيْنَاهُمْ بِسَحَرٍ. Indeed, we sent upon them a storm of stones, except the family of Lut. We saved them before dawn. So حَاصِبًا means رِيحًا تَرْمِيهِمْ بِالْحَصْبَةِ, wind that throws pebble upon them. So that was a punishment on the people of Lut alayhi salam. نِعْمَةً مِّنْ عِنْدِنَا كَذَلِكَ نَجْزِي مَنْ شَكَرَ. As favor from us, thus do we reward he who is grateful. So the protection of Lut alayhi salam and his family was a favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَقَدْ أَنذَرَهُمْ بَطْشَتَنَا فَتَمَارَوْا بِالنُّذُرِ. And he had already warned them of our assault, but they disputed the warning. وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدُوهُ عَنْ ضَيْفِهِ فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنَهُمْ فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِي وَنُذُرِ. And they demanded from him his guests, but we obliterated their eyes, saying, taste my punishment and warning. So the word rawadu is to demand. And the story behind this is there were 3 angels that were sent to the house of Lut alayhi salam as guests. And he was unaware that these are angels. And because of the ill behavior of the people of Lut alayhi salam, anytime they had new guests coming in the town, they used to try to approach these people and mistreat them. And they tried the same, so they came to Lut alayhi salam and demanded that he hands over the new guest. And the punishment that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave was فَطَمَسْنَا أَعْيُنَهُمْ, which means there are 2 explanations given. One is that their face became flat, meaning their eyes vanished from the face, and it was as if there were no eyes on the face. That was one explanation given here. The other explanation is that they were made blind, so they couldn't see the guests of Lut alayhi salam anymore. وَلَقَدْ صَبَّحَهُمْ بُكْرَةً عَذَابٌ مُسْتَقِرٌ. And there came upon them by morning an abiding punishment. So bukrata means early morning. So Lut alayhi salam and the family left the village, the area at night before dawn, and then a punishment came in the morning. فَذُوقُوا عَذَابِي وَنُذُرْ. So taste my punishment and warning. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. And we have certainly made the Quran easy for remembrance, so is there anyone who will remember? وَلَقَدْ جَاءَ آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ النُّذُرُ. And there certainly came to the people of Fir'aun the warning. كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كُلِّهَا فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ أَخْذَ عَزِيزٍ مُقْتَدِرٍ. They denied our signs, all of them, So he sees them with a Caesar of one exalted in might and perfect in ability. أكفاركم خير من أولئكم أم لكم براءة في الزبر. So are your disbelievers better than those former ones, or have you immunity in the scripture? So kufarukum is the disbelievers among Quraysh, and Zubur is from Zubur, which refers to a divine book. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now, after giving all these examples of different nations and their punishment, and even the power that he had given to these nations, and yet they were destroyed, and they couldn't really use their own might against the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even after seeing and knowing about all these events of the past nations, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now asking Quraysh, so do you think your disbelievers are better than all these previous nations? Or do you believe that you have been given some kind of immunity, meaning you can do whatever you desire, and that will not have any impact on you? You wouldn't be punished, or you have been given the promise of paradise in the hereafter. So has anything in scriptures, in divine revelation, come to you that gives you such an immunity? And of course, that exemption never occurred. So this was their own understanding or disbelief that led to the behavior and rejection of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's message, even after they were aware of all the history of different nations of the past. Let's quickly review ayahs 18 to 43. So we learn about punishment of past nations, including Ad, Thamud, and the people of Lut, Nuh alayhi salam, and Fir'aun. There is no comparison between the might and power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the strength of any nation of the past, or even people of today. No one is able to turn away and escape from punishment of Allah. Once it is decreed, it is bound to happen. And even clear signs do not necessitate acceptance of faith by disbelievers. So even after being aware of all the historical events, even after seeing miracles, it does not mean that someone will get guidance. It is truly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And disbelievers, once their heart has been sealed, they cannot get guidance. So we, in today's world, as we preach to people, as we pass on the message, our job is to give the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You might be thinking of giving very logical arguments. You might be explaining things in the clearest of ways, and yet someone you are explaining to may not understand it. And at that point, your job is done. Make dua for the person to get the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah that will happen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم